All right, welcome in Hanna Time. Cornelius, Brad, Hanna. Global Sports Broadcasting Network. Also coming to you on many social media platforms, to name a few. But we have a lot to talk about right here on Global Sports Broadcasting Network. But you can catch us on not only Facebook, Roku TV, on ASAP Sports Network, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, Global Sports TV Podcast, Momentu TV, Momentu Plus, Viva Network, Tiki TV, Perigo TV, LinkedIn, and just keep it right here as we're going to go across the globe with Hanna Time in 30 seconds right now. All right, welcome back in Hanna Time. I got a lot to talk about, a lot of sports, a lot of NFL, big weekend. It's December 23rd. It is Immaculate Day, which is the Immaculate Reception, the day that Franco Harris caught that ball. We'll tap into that at the top here and then get into a lot of football stuff. Big game last night. The Jags look like a team that's ready for a playoff. They're playing high-level football, but probably playing against the descending New York Jets as they're landing their season, the way they're looking, where they're playing. But we'll get into all that. We have a lot to talk about. Also, some baseball stuff. The New York Mets, what the heck are they doing? Spending. Some Brittany Griner news itself, being more compassionate about something. And maybe this is an indicator. And we'll talk more about that in detail and much more. There's so much more to talk about. But first and foremost, let's get right into it. This gentleman right here, again, the story of the week in the sports world itself, here in America at least, is Franco Harris. This is the day he caught that ball. That is the Sports Illustrated cover of him racing towards the goal line 50 years ago today, 1972. Franco passes away a couple of days ago at 72 years old. Today is the big day. They're going to celebrate this all over the NFL. They're going to have a big ceremony. They're going to retire Franco's number tomorrow night in Pittsburgh when they play the Raiders, the team they beat 50 years ago. Everything's calculated other than Franco's death, which has been shocking a lot of people, and a lot of memories and a lot of conversations about what he did for the game, for the city of Pittsburgh, and many, many people who just did not know a lot about the NFL. Just kind of captivated America in a lot of ways too. So we'll get into that in big details here right now as we're going to roll through this show here this morning. And, when you think about the catch by Franco, the legal or not, it looked like more, if anything, the Raiders were just shocked. And they had to have a reasoning to this because it really hasn't happened a whole lot. This is Franco's let's put it this way. Terry Bradshaw's first postseason touchdown pass. It was Franco's first touchdown. It was Pittsburgh Steelers' first ever postseason touchdown in their history was the Immaculate Reception. And the way it happened, it would have been a great instant replay review. But really, in all reality, looking at everything, there is no evidence. And if anything, it was a legal catch. And a lot of video shows it. And if you can try to reverse that in today's game, it would be conspiracy. Not like the Raiders, but more about Franco and more about how this changed the NFL. Okay. And we'll tap into this right now. Is the evidence itself is what has happened after the catch. The NFL was somewhat down after the Joe Namath honeymoon, the big Super Bowl victory in Super Bowl III. The Jets win it. Major upset. It did put the Super Bowl on the map. It was New York, right? It was Namath. He was the idol. Everybody wanted to be Joe Willie. Then, the NFL kind of piggybacked that momentum for a couple of years, but it was descending. It was losing his lust, right? And the Dolphins were the hot team, the dynasty team. but they weren't sexy. They had it was just they had the undefeated season, and that kind of kept people thinking about it, but it wasn't like captivating people, the undefeated season. Now we talk more about it, and we're more amazed by an undefeated season. We look back on it all the time. But the Immaculate Reception, Christmas weekend, right? Everybody, it was playoff football. A lot of people are home, right? People are home watching football. And this was all eyes. And it happened right in front of everybody on the TV set. Because, TV, you had one TV with the antenna that was a wire, and, and you got the game, and it was and it had a magical moment that the NFL, was needing. It really was needing it, and it captivated Franco's Italian Army, the Immaculate Reception. The Steelers captivated a nation that night or that day. And, and a lot of those people who did not like the Raiders, that kind of helped a little bit too, if you think about it. But, this was a losing franchise in Pittsburgh. People knew about that. They heard the stories, right? So this was the blue-collar team, right, pulling off the miracle. It was a big wow. And did it save the NFL? I wouldn't say it saved it, but it definitely put it in the forefront. It launched it. Joe Namath opened the door, but nobody was really walking in. They kind of like saw it and walked back out. That reception, that touchdown, the Immaculate Reception, Franco's name, the Steelers and what they did the next 6 year or 8 years, winning 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, was everything that the NFL was piggybacking, and it never let go from there. It really launched itself. It was the Steel City. It was Franco and that army, right? It was just a remarkable pivoting time for the NFL. And as we look back on it more and more, I think a lot of people today, this whole week, are recognizing what I just said. A lot of people are coming out, people in their 50s and 60s. So the miracle happened. Matter of fact, it happened so big, and it captivated so much of America. And this is fact, folks. This is fact that the Steelers were soon asked to be America's team. The Pittsburgh Steelers were asked to be America's team. And they identified America. It was everything about the city, the underdog, the fight, the battle, the victory, right? You rooted for that. Yes, the Steelers. The Steelers ownership said, no, we just want to be the Steelers. NFL asked again. Steelers said no. So the NFL moved on to the Cowboys. And they were tagged as America's team. But, as you know today, but it was Steelers, Franco, etc. That was the NFL primary America's team. Cowboys were sloppy seconds. Immaculate Reception had an effect on many things. And as we celebrate, remind ourselves, and with some sadness to it, tomorrow night will be a magical night in Pittsburgh as they retire Franco's jersey. Something very special. Again, Franco Harris passing away. But it'll be a magical night. A lot of people are going to watch the halftime ceremony too. It'll be very emotional too. We'll see how Pittsburgh plays and how the Raiders show up. All right, so speaking of the holidays, okay, teams that won or win on Christmas weekend or Christmas itself. The Eagles are 2-0. Pittsburgh's 2-0. The Dolphins are 2-1. The Packers are 2-1. The Broncos are 2-1, and the Chiefs are 2-1. These are all successful teams on Christmas Day. We got a bunch of games on Christmas Day. The NFL fully loaded on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and Christmas night and Christmas Eve night. So it's loaded. So we'll keep all eyes on that. But this is just something to put out there, how teams perform on Christmas itself. But thinking about that alone, the Packers, right? These teams are playing Christmas, okay? These three games itself, and all eyes on Tom Brady in the Cardinal game on Sunday night. The Rams and Broncos, what a dud that is. I'm not quite sure if a lot of people want to watch it, but it's Russell Wilson against Baker Mayfield. No, Russell's playing. Don't know. We'll find out. But Dolphins and Packers, that's a good game. Okay, that's a really good game. Packers making a move for a playoff push. They're right on the doorstep. The Dolphins hanging on, a team that was in first place just a few weeks ago. And, with the Packers and Green Bay's quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, set to make his third start on Christmas, surpassing Ben Roethlisberger and Dave Craig, former Chief, Seattle, former Cardinal quarterback. But there's a Tom Brady story. Buccaneers hanging on, and if they can find a way to win a game or two, they can wrap up a weak division title. And that's pretty much how it's going to play out for Sunday football on Christmas Day itself. But thinking about Sunday and the big matchup that a lot of people are going to focus on too is the Cowboys and the Eagles, an old rival that will always be a rival as long as these two teams are relevant in their division itself. But two teams are riding winning streaks here. The Cowboys have the longest home winning streak right now at 7, while the Eagles have a 9-game road winning streak. So something's got to give unless there's a tie, and that benefits the Cowboys. No, it does not. It benefits the Eagles. Eagles are looking to, wrap up home field advantage and things like that. And one way for the Eagles to pull this off, here are the next 3 games. They got the Giants, the last game of the year. They got the Saints next week, and they got the Cowboys this weekend. And the way they're playing, if Jalen's playing well and healthy, trying to find that win. Minshew is playing. Gardner's playing as quarterback for the Eagles, so we'll see what happens. All right, more news around the NFL itself, and this is something that the 49er fans are just loving it. And if the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl, it's really about their defense, folks. It has not allowed a league it's a league leading of fewest rushing yards per game, about 75 yards this season. And this is the 49ers' second team in the NFL history to allow 70 or fewer yards in 7 consecutive games. 2000 Baltimore Ravens did it. And you know what happened there? They relied on their defense and some offensive popping plays that were able to win a Super Bowl. The 49ers can become the first to do so in 8 straight games. And looking at the stats on the screen right now, how they've been doing it, the last 7 games itself, looking at 8. They are also looking to wrap up some more home field advantage. Looks pretty comfortable at this point. But the 49ers defense, folks, is for real. We always kind of knew that. They got better. They got more young talent. And if no injury happens, this defense is going to be leading the way in the postseason itself, the San Francisco 49ers. Just everybody's talking about quarterback stuff and all this offensive stuff, but the defense in San Fran is carrying in this team. And again, it goes back to the old saying, folks, defense, running the football, and just make some plays on third down and score a touchdown, right? I mean, that's the name of the game. But defense is everything, folks. Even with a poor offense or an average offense, your defense will keep you in games. You may lose those games, but your defense has got you there to a point where you got a shot, okay, because they're that good. And then on top of that, if your offense can make some plays, you're going to upset people. But now if you have a better offense along with that great defense, magical things, a lot of wins, winning streaks, and a Super Bowl contender comes into play. And that's where the 49ers are at, Didn't really drop off with the Garoppolo injury. We thought it was going to happen. We'll see how things may catch up to the young quarterback and Purdy. But if Purdy can be consistently the same way, the Niners are going to go very far. There's no doubt. But this is the NFL, and we just do not expect, the unexpected happens more than not, okay? Last night, the Jaguars, a team that we kind of knew was building themselves for something special, but now that they're 7-8, they win last night. They're on the doorstep of, making the playoffs. If a couple things can happen, a lot has to happen with the Chargers losing. That opens up the door more for a lot of teams. But the Jags making a big point, and they're on their way. And their quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, is the biggest reason, folks. If you want to talk about Trevor Lawrence, folks, look at these numbers. Trevor, Jaguars quarterback, last night had another great game, consistent. His quarterback rating has been the best since week 9, 111. I mean, this is the guy that we are all expecting. Now, let me put this out there right now. It is everything for a young quarterback to have a developing system, a coach, offensive mind, quarterback coach, somebody knows what they're doing to help develop and build a system that fits their quarterback needs or strengths. Peterson, the former Eagle coach who got Nick Foles to win a Super Bowl, made him a star, made him a legend in Philadelphia. Philly wins its Super Bowl, beating the Patriots. The whole thing is the Jaguars coach. It's not by mistake, folks, that Trevor Lawrence, after last, it was pretty rough, right? They weren't that good, but now there's talent around them. And the true colors of a really good quarterback, a star rising that we kind of expected in Trevor Lawrence coming out of college, has emerged. He is now well past a lot of quarterbacks that you were loving on the last 5 years. On the flip side of it, you were watching a game last night, with the Jets and Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson does not have the support. He does not have the support. He doesn't have a system in play. He needs to be developed. He's very young. He hasn't had a full season of quarterbacking with numbers or games played. And it's been sporadic. He's been hurt. And a lot of things have gone wrong. And is he going to grow and get better? Yes. But he won't if the Jets do not put a better system in play that fits his needs and develop him, his skills, his fundamental skills, right? His technique, some things that are becoming more obvious. But when you're a young quarterback and you're under duress and stress because your offensive line is injured and banged up, you don't have a running game like you did early in the year. The Jets had a really good running game. Then their star running back gets hurt, right? Things kind of broke down. Their offensive lineman got hurt, and they got exposed more, and now they just can't get out of their own way. And this doesn't help any quarterback. They bring in Mike White as if he's the savior. What did he do? He didn't win. So now Zach Wilson comes in, and he gets ripped on because he was a first-round pick. And you're going to go back to Mike White because what? What did Mike White end up doing? The Jets still lost. They got more problems than a quarterback situation. But you can develop a quarterback if you put things in place or the right coach. Saleh, the head coach, I love him. Not an offensive guy. Got to find somebody else to help this young guy before he turns into a mess. He's got talent. He needs more experience. There's an upside to it. And he's playing in New York. It's hard. If he was in Jacksonville under that system, probably see a different quarterback. Okay? You can say the same thing that's going on in Arizona with Kyler Murray. Did Kyler get the proper development? Or did Kyler ever listen? That's the other part of it. But when you don't have an offensive line, you don't have a running game, no quarterbacks, even the good ones. I mean, Matt Ryan, if he had an offensive line, had a decent running game, he'll pick you apart still. But he looks old. He looks done. The team's not good in Indianapolis. There you have it. There you have it. It's amazing. I remember Ben Roethlisberger last season when he basically said, screw the playbook. I know what I'm doing. And he turned it into his game, and the Steelers started winning again, and he made the playoffs. It was pretty much scripted by Ben Roethlisberger. But experience can do that. Guys like Zach Wilson at this point needs more experience, but he needs development. He needs help, or it's going to crash with the Jets. Trevor Lawrence got the perfect coach. Peterson turned Nick Foles into a Super Bowl winner big time. Nick Foles was never going to be known. He was going to be something else way in the back of the pile, underneath the pile. But he's not anymore. And now Trevor Lawrence is going to ride what Peterson did. The Jags are in a good place. Their quarterback is on. Now, they played a Jet team that's just spinning out of control. They're crashing, So, but you got to be happy for the Jags. Just a couple of years ago, right? Wasn't it just a couple of years ago? The Cincinnati Bengals were the team that was just disgusting, and Joe Burrow came along and had a rough year and an injury, and then this year two, boom. Their Bengals Super Bowl. Now the Bengals are on the road and on a roll, winning our division probably right now. The playoff team now since the Jets lost, and the Bengals are better. Year 3. So Burrow, you can see the same thing that's going to happen to Trevor Lawrence. It's going to tick up. And these guys are going to, a couple of years ago when I was talking about quarterbacks, and this is why I was not big on Kyler Murray, because he's not the future of the NFL. If you recall the show, and I mentioned it a couple of times, even this year, the future of the NFL are these other quarterbacks. It wasn't the Kyler Murray. It wasn't the Sam Darnold. It wasn't Baker. These guys are fighters. They're NFL quarterbacks, maybe starting, maybe backup, depending on situations, right? Pretty much. I mean, Joe Flacco is still in the league. Maybe the Jets should have played Joe Flacco more. Something to calm down and an experienced quarterback, remember? But when we started pointing out the beginning of what Mahomes is, Justin Herbert, Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, those are the quarterbacks of the now and the future for the NFL the next 10 years. We're going to be talking because they are amazing NFL talented quarterbacks, and they just needed another year or so, and they just kind of stormed right in, and the NFL, they got what they wanted. So when I was ripping on the Kyler Murray stuff, it's because I didn't see it. Here we are. Now you understand what is the high ceiling potential that should be the no-brainer quarterback that we talked about in Trevor Lawrence and Burrow. We knew about Mahomes. We had a lot of hope, and he showed up, right? Big time. And Justin Herbert is putting up numbers, but he just needs more. Folks, it wasn't going to be Kyler Murray. It wasn't going to be Darnold, right? We're still waiting on Daniel Jones, right? Look at Baker Mayfield, right? I mean, we can go down the line with some quarterbacks that got drafted high. So Jets going to have to figure this out fast. They got a chance, but you got to have the right people in place to help this young quarterback out who is spinning out of control in New York with the pressure of New York, which is not good. It's not fun. And facing the media, it's like no other, folks. It's no BS. So they need to save this quarterback fast and get his confidence up. And that's the biggest task. That's your quarterback of the future. And you got to figure this out. You got another year or so to work this out with this young quarterback. And it could be the quarterback's issue, but it also is going to be the front office and the coaching staff of not doing what they could have done. But I'm not giving up on Wilson, and I don't think the Jets are. Soleil said that last night. All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, how about this guy right here? Only quarterback with 0 turnovers in the past 6 weeks, Jared Goff. His name is popping up. The Lions are winning. The Lions are playoff bound-ish if things go well, right? But they're right there. They're not the joke anymore, right? The Lions are serious. But Jared Goff, for everything that he went through in LA, a system, robotic, right? Bubble offense that did some great things, traded him away when things didn't go well with the Rams. And he is shining amazingly in Detroit. How do you explain why Jared Goff got his game turned around when everybody was laughing at this guy or he was done, right? And you want to rip on Zach Wilson and is that like he's never going to be anything? Folks, it's about situations. It's about coaching. It's about a system. These quarterbacks are talented. And in time and with experience, and Jared has a lot of experience now, that benefits him. Zach Wilson needs more time. Needed more time in college because he didn't play a lot in college. But when he did, he was awesome at BYU. But in the NFL, man, this is a crash course for this guy. He's been injured, out of the lineup. He's been benched, and it's been hard. And the Jets are trying to make the playoffs. So they're trying to find a formula just to get into the playoffs. But you look at Jared Goff, and then you're telling me that Zach Wilson is not going to be anything good? Give me a break. Give time. We have to wait this out. All right. But Jared Goff, folks, look at those. Look at that stat right there. No turnovers. That's what you want as your quarterback right there. Big time. And when you think about why things are going so well in Detroit, look at the stat sheet right here. These are the top players of receptions in their first 2 seasons as wide receivers. Justin Jefferson right now is rocking it at number 1. Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Christian McCaffrey. These are players all from the last recent years in the NFL, right? This is all about the NFL pass happy league. But on that list, we talked about this is nobody's really talking about him still. Nobody is like mentioning him. This guy's having a career year. Amon-Ra St. Brown. St. Brown has 179 receptions in his first 2 seasons and still counting. Detroit Lions, Jared Goff. They have a defense. They got some talent. Detroit's not going away, folks. They're not going away even next year. They got the talent. They put it together. They have a fun, great coach that the players love, and it's really going well. They got the mojo in Detroit. Mojo and Motown. All right. There's your Detroit Lion picker-upper. More stats and numbers around the NFL, too. It's most receptions in a single season itself by a running back. Look at this list. Look at this list. And the first one to do it, to make it to the century mark, was Larry Sanders of the Arizona Cardinals itself. And that was back in 95. So it's been a long run, but, more running backs are catching more passes out of the backfield just because of the game itself. And but the Larry Centers of the world opened that door. How valuable a running back can be out of the backfield. And you can always point to Larry Centers as the first one out of this list. There's your list right there of all these players. They're all in the NFL, but Larry and LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, and who's the other guy? Matt Forte. Matt Forte was just a touchdown guy, man. Goal line, give it to Matt. But Austin Eckler is there with the Chargers, and a big reason why their offense is doing so well is because that guy just finds a way to get into the end zone and catch the ball too. So, all right, more news around the NFL itself. So we're spreading the love itself. These are your quarterbacks that have made it to the Pro Bowl, and the Pro Bowl game itself is there. You have it: Jalen Hurts, Geno Smith, and Kirk Cousins. When you think about the NFC, as you look at the AFC at below, you look at the NFC quarterbacks Pro Bowl. Now, Jalen wasn't expected to be this amazing this year. Geno was never going to. We never thought Geno Smith was going to have this high quarterback rating and having a season like he is. And Kirk Cousins, we know about him, but these are your Pro Bowl guys and quarterbacks in the NFC. And so it is surprising because we were not predicting this, okay? But the NFC quarterback situation, we talked about this, the NFC. This right here in front of your eyes, looking at the screen, is why the NFC is way behind when it comes to quarterbacks. Way behind. The star quarterbacks, the power quarterbacks are all in the AFC. So below that is the AFC quarterbacks. You got Josh Allen, boom. Joe Burrow, boom. Mahomes, I should say, boom. Right? You have Travis Lawrence, boom, boom. Right? You got more boom booms in the AFC. All right? Got a young quarterback in Kenny Pickett. You got Tua. You have the Mac Jones of the world that's developing. Right? There's a lot of young, talented quarterbacks in the AFC. I'm sure I missed somebody, but no, don't be so hard on me. But in the NFC, we didn't expect this. We didn't see this coming. We knew that these guys, Geno Smith, come on, folks. We thought Seattle was going to be dead last. Okay. Kirk Cousins, so much talent around him, is elevated his game. Don't get in the way, Kirk Cousins. That's what that is. And Jalen Hurts is having an MVP season. So, but look at the contrast. Going into the season itself, the 3 guys at the bottom in the red of the AFC, you could predict exactly that. But the ones at the top, no way. There's no way. All right. All right. So there's your AFC, NFC Pro Bowl quarterbacks. We'll see who shows up. It's not even going to be a game. It's going to be like a flag football game with Manning brothers coaching it. It's comical now. But anyway, all right. More numbers around the NFL. Passing rating of 100 or higher in the most games, consecutive games with a single season. Nick Foles. We just talked about him. Peterson was the coach, right? Eagles, Super Bowl win. Trevor Lawrence got the same coach. Now you're seeing Trevor escalating into elite status in front of our eyes. He's on his way, folks. I mean, I can say he's easily top 10. He's probably close to top 5 right now, the way he's playing. Aaron Rodgers, 7 consecutive road games. Tony Romo's in there. And Geno Smith, just talked about him. Geno Smith this season, 6 consecutive road game victories, looking for his 7th one. We part of a very elite group of Rodgers and Romo. I think Romo was just a fantastic quarterback. But Nick Foles, great story. But could Geno Smith be the Nick Foles of 2000, right? 13. Don't know. We'll find out. All right. There you have it there. More news around the NFL coming up here on Hanna Time, Global Sports Broadcasting Network. I got my sponsors below the screen there, scrolling along the way. If you want to jump in on that too, then I greatly appreciate it. But if not itself, I Metal One stablecoin. Check them out, MetalOneExchange.io. Dr.REDDY gastrologist in Maricopa County. Wide itself, gastrologist and liver specialist. Double B Lodge in Pine Top, Arizona. The book, A Peaceful War, all about the human computer chip. And GEED, Conscious Active Balance for your emotions. Active wear, high vibration crystals in everything that they do and make with their clothesline and active wear. All right, there's my sponsors tag right there. We're going to get back more into today's show itself and in more discussions of what's going on. Folks, so when you're thinking about baseball, and we're going to shift into baseball right now, is what is going on with the New York Mets? Mets owner Steve Cohen, spending spree. People thinking it's going to have a detrimental effect on the owners around Major League Baseball when an owner steps out of the box and spends in this offseason where the Mets have spent. The owner is a Met fan. The day he was born, he now owns the team, and he's trying to get his World Series. He wants to live his dream of his Mets winning a World Series, but now he's the owner, and he is spending. And now all this does, and the Players Union for baseball players, loving it because it just escalates. It's escalating the contracts more and more. Because now these position players and pitchers who have gotten big paid money are now basically, the measuring the volume of what a pitcher should get. And they're going to compare it to, when they want to sign on a player, a team who wants to sign a player, they're going to compare these other contracts. So the numbers have gone up. And now the owners are going to have to fight back. They're going to have to pull back the reins. They're going to play hardball to slow this down because the players are going to use these signings that the Mets had as a measuring tool to where they belong on the pay scale when they become free agents or they want a new contract, things like that. So the owners are not happy. He's become not the favorite owner among the owners in Major League Baseball. The players love him, right? But we'll see how it lasts. Championships are not won with money. We've seen this before. But it definitely keeps you successful. Definitely helps you win and keep you relevant and it keeps you in postseason. But you got to win, and you got to win it all. Now, thinking about the Mets and what they have done, look at these contracts, folks. This is all from this year. Nearly $1 billion, $800 million plus contracts this season. The last one was Carlos Correa they stole him from the Giants. Look at that contract. Brandon Nimmo, you got Diaz's contract. Everything is over $100 million for the most part. The top 3 guys. Then you got Justin Verlander. They have Senga, the guy from Japan. They got Quintana, the lefty pitcher. They have Navarez. They got Ottavino, the relief pitcher, and Dave Robertson, a relief pitcher. The Mets just opened up their pocketbook, and there's a lot of money being spent here. Nearly $1 billion just right there on the screen, folks. Okay? We're not talking about the other players on the Mets roster. We're talking about these players on the screen looking at it are the ones making up $800 billion. No, $800 million. But it's almost $1 billion for this team. Now, they're going to get taxed. They're going to be way over the tax line, and the owner is willing to pay for it for a championship. So he's going to probably put everything in to win a championship for the next couple of years, and then, he's going to break it up because you can't hold on to that. There's a lot of money being spent. Great example of the Miami Marlins. It was a great example of the Arizona Diamondbacks when they won their World Series. They went out and bought guys. They went out and signed guys. They got guys with big names, big contracts, and a bunch of other guys that fit the roles, but they were big stars. And, 20 plus years ago, there was a lot of money that was spent, and you won a World Series, but you can't sustain it. You got to spend. You got to hold on to your talent. Some teams choose not to. They all can choose to do it. They all have the money, but they have a different bottom line. And obviously the Mets ownership does not have a bottom line. It's like the Italian restaurant that had bottomless pasta. Couldn't stop going, man. Couldn't stop eating. Freaking owner came up to me because you got to go. You got to go, man. We got no more left, right? The players are going to line up and they're going to be like, oh, sorry, man, we got no more left. We can't sign you. Bottomless contracts, right? Money. Yeah, the bottomless pasta restaurant in Vegas. Oh, those were the days. I think it was Sam's Town. I think Sam's Town had it, right? It had a beautiful, nice restaurant in there, Italian, and it was bottomless pasta, man. Are you kidding me? Right? Man, it was good stuff. Yeah, I know. There's a restaurant that does that too, but I don't like. This was like a family-owned Italian inside the casino, and it was real. Italian food, and the commercial restaurant Italian food, right? once they expand themselves and chain themselves out, it's no longer Italian. It's no longer Italian, right? I want to go into an Italian restaurant where the guy speaks broken English, right? And the first thing he says to you is "manja," manja, right? And he puts a big bottle of wine on your table, and you drink it, but not realizing you're still paying for it. You think it's complimentary. That's Italian restaurants. They're smiling, they're happy, but they push everything onto you to buy and eat and everything else. And they don't speak a whole lot of English, right? But the pasta sauce is off the charts. And that's when you can tell. It's off the charts, and you'll know it's all about the sauce, baby. I'm telling you. All right. The Mets bottomless contracts of, there's nothing there. They just keep signing players. Other players, look at this one here. Former Met, now with the Giants. The Giants are finding ways. They just lost Carlos Correa. They thought they had their shortstop or third baseman and a physical situation, and they dropped him. And the Mets jumped in without hesitation. But now the Giants are making moves still. The Giants have been quietly putting together some pieces. The San Francisco Giants. And Conforto, former Met, had a year off. Always been a good hitter, lefty hitter. I don't know how well he's going to do in San Fran with that wind and that porch. And it's still going to be a hard time to hit homers. But he's a contact hitter, more of a doubles guy that has some power that can put the ball out here and there. Conforto is at the Giants. The Giants have made some smaller moves to compensate the loss of Aaron Judge and Carlos Correa. I mean, that was their two big dogs and didn't play outright, but they put together some other pieces. And if the Giants can get some pitching in there, they lost Rendon. The Giants may be able to make some noise next season, at least with their bats. But you got to give them credit. They didn't die after all the losses that they had in free agency, the big names. They still went after some other players too. Speaking of some big names and in Aaron Judge itself, this is class act stuff, folks. But at the same time, this is called leadership. This is called team leadership. This is called the captain, the newest captain of the New York Yankees, in a history of captains that are great, legendaries to the game and to the sport and to the New York Yankees itself, is Aaron Judge. He was named the captain of the New York Yankees, and rightly so. The guy is exemplifies what the Yankees are, and he's a Yankee forever, for at least what we know and see, unless things change down the road. But he's asking Derek Jeter to come back to the organization. This is what leadership does. This is what every team does. I've been screaming this stuff, especially here in Arizona with our local teams here. Embrace your past. Embrace your great players. There's some issues here in Arizona. Not really digging what the Cardinals, they just kind of selectively pick what they want for whatever reasons. But they've had some amazing, great talent that they should be celebrating, inviting them in, fly them out, put them on the sideline, let the fans see their history. But they don't want to be part of the St. Louis stuff, right? They don't want to be part of anything like that. It's really strange. Got to get off that kick, man. Embrace your past. Embrace your success, your heroes. But when you bring them into your organization, when Aaron Judge is asking Derek Jeter to come back to the Yankees. He's asking Derek Jeter to be around the ball club, spring training, show up on game days, come into the locker room. That's a captain, the newest captain, talking to the latest captain, Derek Jeter. And the one thing that I noticed over the years, and not recent years, and maybe this is why the Yankees haven't won, because when they won in 2009, they had a lot of former players on that bench. They had players that won World Series and were winners. When you bring a winning mentality in your locker room with winning players, been there, done that kind of stuff. Leadership, energy, environment of that team, or organization, been in that locker room and on that field, it shines through. You cannot talk more about leadership that are in the locker room, but a lot of it can be helped when you bring in former players that have the love and respect as a ball player to the young ones. So for example, the Yankee way was always keeping their former players. I mean, you always saw Yogi Berra on the bench or spring training. You always saw the old guys. Mantle would show up, right? The Bowers of the world. Whitey Ford would show up, right? Elston Howard would show up, right? I mean, these are great names, right? They were. DiMaggio would show up. Okay, go down the line, and then it was the '70s run with the Yankees, right? And then you had Reggie. Pinella would show up. Gossett would show up, right? You had a lot. Willie Randolph would show up. Bucky Dent would be there. Reggie Jackson will be there. You had guys that won. And, Chris Chambliss was there. Willie Randolph was there, right? I mean, you had players that won. And when you look and talk to these guys in a locker room, it rubs off. There's a different mentality. It elevates your team because these guys won and they don't like losing. They know how it is, and they want to win another one as a coach. So when Derek Jeter was asked by Aaron Judge to be around the team again, come back, and Derek's not upset with the Yankees. He just moved on and tried it with the Marlins, wasn't happy what they were doing there and the ownership. So he's free. He's having a great time, and he's enjoying more probably now. But he said he hasn't made a decision yet about when he wants to come back to the New York Yankees in some manner. He definitely has general manager ability. He's did a lot down in Miami. Could he be a manager one day? Who knows? But if anything, his presence in a locker room to a young team of ball players, that's Derek Jeter. And then Derek brings his buddies in. I think every team should embrace their former players, their legends, bring them in, celebrate them. At the same time, it helps the players on that roster. Locker room environment, leadership, and a winning attitude. You bring winners in. Sports today are going with the Harvard geek who never won anything but thinks they know everything. But when you can look into the eyes of somebody who's done it and talk to them, when you're down, you're slumping, man, it means so much more. That geek, he doesn't understand that. He can't measure the emotions that are going on. You can't measure instinctive thoughts or instinctive reactions. Okay, you can't do it. Right? You can look at NFL quarterbacks. Man, they just praise them up, put all these weird numbers out, all these things until the games play, and then you realize, oh wow, that's maybe what happened here. I thought we had it right. But when you get back to talent and experience and leadership, I thought it was fantastic that Aaron Judge reached out, and I believe he'll do more and reach out more to former Yankees and people that players that you watched over the last few decades. And that's what every team should do, folks. Every team should do that, and they don't. They just find what they believe is the best They should hire within and hire their own family, man. It's okay. It's okay. All right. More stories around the NFL. Well, we'll come back to that in a little. I want to get through these last stories and then we'll come back to it. Brittany Griner. This is something that I'm not surprised. Okay. It was a hot topic when she was released. We're not happy how it all played out. It wasn't Brittany's fault. She got out and good for her. Right. And yes, a lot of people are not happy. I wasn't happy, wasn't pleased how she handled the national anthem. That's my stand on it too. But the one thing I mentioned and is I'm looking to see if Brittany, what she experienced and how her demeanor changed when she was in jail, a prisoner, and how life changed and all her money and all the things that she was enjoying in life and how she can appreciate life more in America more. And I believe she loves her country even before and everything that happened controversial. But the way she handled it and what she believed didn't go well. And now this didn't go well either because she becomes the black. She's the black guy. Well, I think the White House was the black guy. I think how they handled it was the black guy. I think Brittany can't complain. She's free. Now, Brittany knows what's going on. And I mentioned that, what would be nice to see, and it's on her, is that she shows compassion. She reaches out. She reaches out to the military more, right? She honors more of America, right? Because she's more appreciative. That would just change everything, and everybody would move on. And we know about everything in the past and everything else about Brittany. And it's not because she's going to play into, the pressures of that. It's going to be on her terms, and it's going to be on Brittany's terms, and hopefully a life experience, like anybody's life experience. If you ever go to jail, gosh, folks, it's got to be life changing. Right? You're not free. You're captive. Like you're jailed. It's got to make you think. So this was what happened recently. Brittany Griner. I'll try to get the bottom part of the screen off for a second here. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, let me get this off the bottom of the screen. If it works, I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, it does work. Brittany Griner pens thank you letters and urges supporters to write to Paul Whelan. Paul Whelan is the military guy that Americans were surprised that they did not get him freed, or at least part of the package with Brittany, and exchanging for a crazy terrorist, bomber, mad guy that would kill people, Russian. And so Brittany reached out, and I thought this was a big step. I thought this was a huge step for her, PR wise. I think her agent's smart about this. I don't think she's fake about it. I believe she definitely reevaluated a lot of things, and I thought this was a big step for Brittany's career as an athlete, and she can do a lot more, and with more people behind her, more people who come back towards her, because she divided a lot of people. Okay. And it's not her fault. Brittany's fault. It's not her fault that she was freed. Okay, folks. It's the White House. Just go point there. Okay. Just point there. All right. But Brittany Griner itself urges supporters to write to Paul Whelan, give him some encouragement. And why is that, folks? Why is Brittany Griner reaching out to people to reach out to the captive prisoner of war? I guess you could call it war. Whelan, because she knows how it feels, how it felt, what it is to be jailed in a foreign country, not knowing if you're going to live or survive. This is where you're going to die, or there's ever going to be a torture thing going on, right? She knows what all the prisoners that are Americans or anybody, what it felt like. That to me is compassion. That to me is somebody who felt it in her heart, and she knows. I don't believe this is a PR thing. It does help. It does help Brittany in that aspect in many ways, but at the same time, she felt it. And I think it's fantastic that she reached out and she urges all of us. So instead of ripping on her now, she's stepping out. She's starting to take and go in that direction that you're all like were bitching on. Hey, I'm not happy. I wasn't happy how she handled things. But now that she's opened up on this and she's showing that, why can't you follow her lead? Reach out, do whatever you can. She experienced it. She owns it. And she wants all of us. She doesn't want to live her life, Brittany, like this black eye storyline. I mean, that's horrible too. But she knows that she lived it. And the fact that she's reaching out and asking Americans and people to reach out and urge and communicate as much as they can with Whelan, who's a captive military guy in Russia. And it's hard. It's hard to be that way. I mean, you can hear all the storylines. So I thought Brittany, again, one time I look at it again, and she's wearing a USA, strength jersey, and I truly believe she's rebounding this way, and I think it's a major tick up for her future as a player, but also as somebody that can communicate and talk about what she experienced. And I think it's a great story. And as long as she keeps continuing being genuine and compassionate for all, which I believe she always was, but she made mistakes in my eyes, she did, and a lot of people's eyes, but she wasn't at fault for being freed. Not her fault. Okay. But she's urging others to go after and talk to and communicate with Paul Whelan the best they can, or put pressure on the White House, on the president, Biden, or others in America, whatever can be. But to give some encouragement and some love to a prisoner of war or prisoner in Russia that she understands, I think it's a great statement, and I'm happy. I'm really happy to see it, because I want that. I want to see everybody in the loving mode, unconditional loving mode, and when you're wrong and you can correct yourself or evaluate yourself. This is what makes you a better human being. I think this is a good indicator right there. All right, my perspective. That's it. All right, a good indicator right now is also what's going to happen in Colorado. Deion Sanders, who is the head coach now at Colorado Buffaloes college football, getting a lot of transfers. His son is transferring over. And the one question I have is his son good enough to be the Colorado Buffalo starting quarterback next year? When he played from Jackson State, the competition level, not at that high level. It's good football, right? But now you're going to a different level. You're going to Division I, D1. And from what I watched with Sanders itself, the younger Sanders, the quarterback, there's ability there. He's your typical like Jalen Hurts type, Kyler Murray-ish, Justin Field-ish. That's the prototype. He's the RPO-ish kind of guy. Can he develop further? Sure. He's still very young. We're gonna know right away about him at Colorado. For what we see already, he's probably gonna end up being the starting quarterback for Colorado. We're gonna be seeing him here in the Pac-12. We'll get to watch Colorado come to Arizona, where I watch games at Arizona State often and travel and watch college football. But is this fair to all the other quarterbacks that are there, or are you just playing favoritism to your young son, who's talented and probably has a fair opportunity to be a starting quarterback among the ones there? But all indications is this guy's going to be starting, and maybe he is the right choice, and we'll find out soon. But I just it's kind of sticky. It's kind of sticky. You're bringing your talent and you're bringing your son over, and you're going to make him the quarterback, and that's what family does. But if it doesn't go well, and Colorado doesn't do well, and this quarterback, Sanders, uh, doesn't do well, then man, this is going to be heavy stuff during the college football season next year, and we'll see a story that has begun but has yet to be finished and played out, and we're going to find more about this. Okay, and that's what sports does. We can talk about it now, but we still got to watch how it plays out. So we'll see what happens with Sanders, the young quarterback, under his father's tutelage or guidance, like they did at Jackson State. We'll see more about that soon. All right, folks. Let's go back and recap real quick again. Today is December 23rd. It is Immaculate Day, the Immaculate Reception itself. And, again, Franco Harris will be continued to talk about throughout the day, tomorrow, and into Sunday as we reflect on what happens tomorrow night in Pittsburgh as they celebrate. They were retiring his number. Franco was going to be in Pittsburgh. Passes away earlier this week, shockingly, and the stories continue. I met him at a Super Bowl and just stood by him and just started talking. And he just talks back. He was one of those guys you could literally sit at a coffee table or a counter, like a Denny's counter, and just talk. He'll just give you the time. I mean, that's everything you heard about it. I felt it. I experienced too. And we talked about football. We talked about his Steeler days, and he told me stories, and and it just my moment, like a lot of people's moment. But I enjoyed watching him more than anything else. He was probably my favorite running back of all time because of just the way he played and the story itself behind him. And it's just Franco. The name Franco is, athletes who are great and legendary just happen to have that one name, like the first name, right? European soccer players, they all get the one name stuff. It's all the greatness of Jordan, right? That's all we know. MJ, right? Like you can throw the name out, Barkley, Charles Barkley, right? The Dr. J, right? You just know. There are names right away when you hear it. You know exactly who they're talking about. They're all across the board. Franco, same name, same type of name situation, but now more than ever after what had happened this week, his name is bigger than ever. His number, everything about it, you'll never forget Franco. And how cool is that? Because he deserves it. He is a class act. He's everything that the NFL wants you to represent their league and the organization of Pittsburgh itself, the city. And it's Franco. And all the young ones who are growing up now will know about Franco. This is a forever storyline of NFL history. And sadly, the way it had to play out, though. Sadly, the way it had to play out. So, all right. So how are you going to spend your Sunday football, Saturday football, the rest of the season? Here is a great example of some people that I know that literally do something close to this. Okay. Now this is just a joke, but everybody gets their own pizza pie, right? I call it pies. Okay. Live with it. It's a New York thing. And you're all sitting there laying down with the TV set, and that's the ultimate football couch potato right there. And yeah, I know people who do this. It's not them in the photo, but they'll do exactly. They'll get a whole pie from themselves, okay, and sit there, and everybody will get a pie or something, and it just ends up being exactly that image that you see right there itself. But that's what the NFL does, and a lot of people are going to be watching a lot of football. It's a great family weekend that we're looking forward to starting today. College football, a lot of bowl games. We have a lot of NFL games tomorrow and into the night, highlighted by that Steelers-Raider game, and then it's Sunday football, and we'll know more. We'll know more about the NFL and who's clinching. We're going to see more teams getting playoff berths this weekend, probably. We may get more chaos. All right, the key to all this right now are a couple of teams that are in the playoff picture in the AFC right now: the Dolphins and the Chargers. The Dolphins and the Chargers, but they're 8-6. There are teams that are 7-7, 7-8, 6-8 that are right there, needing a door to open And if any of these two teams, Dolphins or Chargers, fall apart, lose the next 2 out of 3 or lose 3 in a row, they're going to be out. Most likely somebody's going to surpass them. And it happens. Every NFL season, somebody sneaks up and just is in the playoff. And you're like, how did that happen? How did that happen? Now, last night, the Jaguars win. Now, they just have 2 games to go. They're 7-8, and they're right on the doorstep because if any of these teams, Chargers or Dolphins, lose, now they're just 1 game behind them with 2 to go. Now, tiebreakers and all that stuff are going to be hard, and it's going to be hard to overcome a 2-game deficit when it comes to wins and losses with 3 to go. So these teams have to lose out 3 in a row, like straight out. So that's why last week when the Chargers won over the Titans in that miraculous finish, I mean, a lot of things were on the bound. I mean, a lot of teams were watching that going, man, this is the one that opens the door. And it was right there. Now, the Dolphins have the same problem. They haven't been playing well, been losing, and 3 games to go. But one of those teams loses, it opens the door this weekend for teams to jump in or get right at the doorstep with 2 to go. Keep an eye on those games, Chargers and Dolphins, and all those teams on the bubble on the outside who are trying to get in, needing the help for these teams to lose. So keep an eye on that. All right. Now, NFC. NFC right now, the Commanders, Washington, is in by like a half a game. The Giants have like a game and a half lead in that next playoff spot. So they're okay. The Giants are like the Chargers and the Dolphins. They got a couple of game lead. They just got to win a game or 2, and things can just fall right into their lap the rest of the way. But they still got to win. Washington, good team, right? They've been magical season. That the fact that Washington is playoff again, potential here, right there. You know, they've always been around the playoffs. They have that much talent, but 1 loss for them. And here's the Packers who can win and jump right in there in that picture. And Aaron Rodgers, when you thought the Packers were dead, boom, the Detroit Lions are right there. So there are a couple of games to watch. Got to watch the Giant game. A loss there by the Giants opens up great possibilities the last 2 games and the Commanders itself. Okay. That's the NFC. Chargers, Dolphins in the AFC. And those are the games that you're watching. If you're looking for a cardiac team to slip into the playoffs out of nowhere, this is what's got to have to happen. And I kind of want to see things happen like that because it's going to make it fun. You know, it's going to make it a lot of fun for the NFL and for us to keep watching this and into the last game of the year. Most likely, we'll have to watch the last games of the year, knowing that there's this possibility of a team sneaking in. And like last year, remember last year when the Colts just had to beat the Jaguars, the worst team in football? Remember this? Remember they just had to beat the Colts. I mean, the Jaguars, the Jags. And the Colts were going to be in the playoffs. They lost. They had everything in their hands last year. The Colts were there, and they lost. And the team that snuck in were the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers did their business. They kept on winning. They put themselves in position to make the playoffs. But they needed help. And it happened. So it's most likely going to come down to that last week again, like it has been every year. And we'll see. We'll see. All right, I'm just sipping on my gold milk, my holiday drink. And we're almost out of here. Here on Hanna Time, Global Sports Broadcasting Network. Cornelius Brad Hanna. All right, so NFL season. Excited for it. I love holiday football. I love watching football during the Christmas. It used to be playoff time. We used to watch the 14-game schedule or the 12-game schedule. This was the time of the year it was all about playoff football, and everybody was watching it on your black and white TV, or if you had a color TV, right, back in those days. And but you know, now it changed, 16, now 17 games. And you know, the fun part is, like, I still go Christmas shopping. I have a tradition where I Christmas shop for at least one thing on Christmas Eve. It's just the spirit of it, walking around, and I just love that energy of it all, and it just feels good to go find a gift for somebody and show some love, right? So, but it's nice. You go out. It's a Saturday night, right? Or it's tonight. It's a Friday night, college football, but it's Saturday night, right? And you're still out there, or you're with family. It's great, and everybody's around, you know, eating and cooking and opening up presents at midnight. But there I am, out there and shopping and go get a lunch break or a dinner break and watch football. I got some bags of presents to give. All right. All right. Excuse me there. All right. So, holidays, football goes hand in hand. No doubt. No doubt. Okay. I got something in my throat. I got to get it out. I got to get it out. All right. I'm back. I'm healthy. I'm good. All right. So, who are your surprise teams? Who's going to surprise you and make the playoffs? Are you content of what you're seeing right now? Do you know who's going to win the Super Bowl? Are you convinced that these teams are going to be Super Bowl teams that are the Eagles? Are you comfortable with them? The Chiefs. Did you see what happened last week? The Chiefs escaped from Houston. Should have lost that game. Any other team beats them, right? Buffalo. Everybody was thinking Buffalo was just going to steamroll Miami, cold weather, all that stuff. No. Cold weather only affects teams when it's like 5 below, 1 degree, windy, wind chill. Horrible. Those are horrible conditions. Last night, Jets game and Jaguars, it was wet, it was cold, it was raining, miserable. But it didn't quite, affect some players, I'm sure. But it doesn't change as much as it changes when it's below zero. And this weekend, there is a major, major freeze going over some NFL cities with some games starting tomorrow. We're looking at single digit and minus situation with the wind chill factor. That's a bigger deal. The Dolphins last week went into Buffalo. There was a lot of snow around. It was cold, but it was like 30 degrees. And when you have snow, that's like insulation. It's warmer. But when the skies open up, when the storm passes through and the skies open up, and it's a night game or a day game, that's where it gets bitter cold. And you got to have your heaters in your hot packs in your shoes or whatever it is in your butt, anywhere to keep warm. Players actually wear things in their underwear, whatever it is, they have to, whatever it takes. And it's cold, but they got heaters on the sideline. They got heat on their benches, right, to keep their fannies and legs warm. So the days are different when it comes to the NFL, when it comes to the old days when they didn't have a whole lot of warmth. Big jackets, big gloves, maybe a blowing heater torch that that guys would huddle around. But today they have better jackets, better gloves, more insulation, better things to wear under your clothes. They got better heating seats, like I said, and big heaters around. Like it's a lot easier on the sidelines. It's a lot easier. But when it gets to those chilling numbers of 0 degrees and below zero and wind chill factors, that's the difference. So I wasn't worried about Miami. What we saw was a Dolphin team that is very capable of doing some great damage in postseason if they can get there. We saw a Buffalo team that has all the talent, or at least a team that should get close to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl. But we do have questions about them. We have questions about every NFL team, and I don't believe people are believing in the Eagles either. I don't think people are that convinced. Now, I'm kind of there, but if you're 12-1 and you're playing some great defense and your quarterback is MVP and playing at a high level, I know he's hurt, Jalen Hurts. I know he's hurt, but you got to take them for real. You have to. But this unpredictable NFL season, unpredictable. And it would not surprise me if a wild card team wins the Super Bowl. And who could it be? Who can be the wild card team that you can see and go, wow, they can just get in the playoffs and they can win. They can win. Now, who are in the NFC that you're looking at? That's wild card type teams. Giants, Washington, right? Is that magical stuff that you're thinking? No, don't feel it. Don't feel it, right? Cowboys. People are on their sexiness, but they've embarrassed themselves. They did it last week, the Jaguars, right? So, but can the Cowboys put it together? Maybe as a wild card team, they may have that enough to get through. But they're going to have to go through the Eagles, right? They're going to have to go through the Vikings. And, the Vikings, it's like, who's really that scary in the NFC? And that's why the Eagles are a legitimate hot contender for a Super Bowl coming out of the NFC, going to the Super Bowl. They're more consistent, solid team out of everybody. I don't think Minnesota is that solid, folks. They've been winning games. They've been lucky. Their deficit of margin of winning is like incredibly one of the lowest, but they're winning. The last 4 weeks, they get blown out by the Cowboys. They barely beat the Jets. The Jets had them, and the Jets just screwed that up. We saw last week they should have lost that game when you're down 33-0. How do you win that game, right? So there's a lot of issues, and I'm not quite sure the Vikings are. They're potentially there. They can potentially, win and get close to it, and maybe it happens. But are you like feeling it? No. Just the Eagles. Okay. Now we move on to the AFC at this point. And they got the Chiefs and you got the Bills. But you know what? Miami can beat them both. Cincinnati can beat them both. See where it's going? I mentioned some. I don't know about the Chargers though. I don't think the Chargers have enough defense. They just don't. They may get into playoffs. They probably are. They got a 2-game lead or a game lead. They're in a comfortable spot with 3 to go. But they don't, even if they get in. But what it comes down to is the division winners in the AFC. And Miami, as a wild card team, I think Miami can beat them. Cincinnati can beat them. So my top 4 teams, Miami could be that kind of a team. Cincinnati, yes. Kansas City, yes. And Buffalo, yeah. Those are my top 4 teams coming out of the AFC. Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, is he healthy? Is he going to get healthy? Have they been successful in postseason with Lamar? No. Have they gotten there all? Again, I don't trust the Baltimore Ravens. And they've blown a lot of fourth quarter leads and lost. So you can see the balance of the comparison of the AFC and the NFC. You can see it. The AFC is more powerful. You can trust these teams more in the NFC that I mentioned than what we see in the NFC. Hope I'm saying this right. So we'll have to play it out. We got to see how it all rolls out. And again, if somebody shocks you, if Washington becomes what a great story. It's shocking, right? If the Giants pull that off, it'll be shocking, right? But don't be surprised if a wild card team, considered wild card weekend, first round of the playoffs, wins it all. Because the NFL is very unpredictable. A lot more teams. Nobody's really that much better than anybody else. Okay? And truly, any given Sunday is for real more than ever this season I've ever seen before. It's been chaotic, right? It's been chaotic. All right. Comments coming across the screen. I'd love to talk to you guys and see what you're saying. And then we'll get out of here. All right. Here we go. Brian is up. Facts are so true. Agreed. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Ron Sanchez, look at the Rams, Dodgers, Lakers. They buy all their titles. Ron, man, if you're still there, you nailed it. You nailed it. Let's talk about the Lakers for a second. Okay. And this is a good topic here. All right. The Lakers won NBA titles with Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq O'Neal, Anthony Davis, and with LeBron James. Every one of those names was never recruited, never was drafted by the Lakers. The Lakers traded or signed. They spent the money, and they won titles that way. Nobody wants to talk about that. Okay? Nobody wants to talk about that. But you're right, Ron. There's one for the Dodgers itself. The Dodgers have the money, and they got their title. But even though it was a short-stricken COVID 60-game regular season, which, and that's a big deal, folks, because when you play 60 games, that's not the baseball is about the marathon. And you survive it. Good teams can't survive. And some people say it's not fair, but if you're a good team, you will survive the regular season. And we don't know how and the regular season in baseball can wear and tear on a team. And by postseason, they're a different team, even though they won their division and they had a good regular season. So you'll never know what the Dodgers would have been if they played a full schedule, 162 games. So it is an asterisk. It really is. It really is an asterisk. Who else? You said here, Lakers and Rams. We know what the Rams did a year ago. They just won all out, and but folks, they won. They got their titles. Nobody gives a crap. LA fans don't give a crap. And for us to sit here and whine about it, you got one. You got one with the Diamondbacks in Arizona. They pretty much went out and bought some guys. They went out and got guys, no doubt about it, and they got their title. So you know how it plays. And you got to spend money to play with the big boys and play in big games. Bottom line. Cardinals tried it this year, and I sometimes you use your money foolishly. Sometimes you spend unwisely. And unfortunately, it doesn't always work for teams. It really doesn't. For years, I've always heard about the Yankees spending. The Yankees have always done that. But they also groom their own players. They've also raised their own. And yes, they can spend the money to keep their own. But so can your team. Your teams, baseball-wise, have their owners make so much money from the other teams. And I think it's like up to $180 million that they pocket. That is from all the MLB earnings from the entire league. All the teams, when they share, they all get in the room and go, all right, guys, this is what we did this year. And this is how much money we consumed and made, I should say. And we're going to divide it up. And by the math of it all, each team this year will get $181.2 million out of all that. Okay. So your Tampa, your Kansas City, your Pittsburgh, your Diamondbacks, you name them, their owners, that's money right in their pocket. That's not talking about all the money they make locally, all the money that they do on their own personal stuff. Millions of dollars that way. So, when you're talking about how much money they make hundreds of $millions a year, each team. Yeah, they have big contracts out there and they're spending it. But some teams don't want to spend it. The Lakers and the LA teams wanted to spend because they know their bottom line. And if the ownership said, you know what, I'm okay. I didn't, a year ago, I made $100 million in my pocket, but we're going to win the title. And I believe in you guys. And I come away making maybe $30 million next season or the next few years. I'm good. I'm a millionaire anyway. Why do I care? I want to win. I want a title. I want to be that owner. Some owners are like that. They're set for life. All owners are set for life. You get a professional team, you are a millionaire and you got it. But some owners just frugal, man. Don't get it. Baseball, no excuse, man. Football, they definitely have the cap. But managing wise, you can manipulate and find ways to bring in talent and pay money and star power to win. And it has been proven. The Buccaneers don't win a Super Bowl unless they sign Tom Brady. Pay him the money, bring him out, boom. Rams don't win the Super Bowl if they don't make the big trade and pay the dollars to Stafford and also get a Beckham in there and Von Miller in there. Boom, there it is. You got to find ways to make it happen. We know about the Lakers. Lakers, you're right. They pretty much buy. They win with the butt talent. They really do. Even Kobe Bryant, folks. He was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets and was traded draft day soon after he was traded soon after for Divock, Vlade Divac, and I forget who else. I think it was Glenn Rice. I don't know, for Kobe Bryant. And Charlotte made the biggest, worst trade of their franchise, trading away a young, talented 18-year-old Kobe Bryant. And Kobe was teamed up with Shaq, and the rest was history. But even Kobe was traded for. But you got to give Jerry West credit. He saw what he saw and he realized this is what we need. And he was right on. He was a great evaluator of talent. And that's another thing. Teams need great evaluators. And when you have those great evaluators, they're gold. They should be paid. There's some organizations that just have great evaluators, great systems to develop and understand what talent is. So when you make free agent decisions or trades, you have a lot of trust, and they make good ones. They really do. So you have to give credit for those teams who spend money also, because you can't just go out and buy a guy and just expect them to just fit in. You can't do it. You hope for the best. You believe it's going to work out. But like what the Mets just did, I mean, look at it. Let's go back to the Mets, and then we'll close out the show here in a minute. The Mets, by the names on this screen and the team that they had last year that looked like a World Series team until they fell apart, the New York Mets, basically spent everything. Like I said, this is the bottomless Italian pasta restaurant, like a bottomless pasta. This is bottomless money. And the Mets are showing it. So, yeah, if the Mets win the World Series, everybody's going to say, well, you bought it. Folks, there's got to be a point in your life to realize that's never going to change. It's all over the world. Soccer clubs are buying the best talent and spending millions on best talent. It has always been the case. So when people get hooked up on buying a championship or buying, your players to win, it's not uncommon. Just got to know how to do it right. You got to learn how to understand, that you're putting together a team, a roster together. If it doesn't, it'll blow up big time and destroy you financially too. So this is the Mets recent activity in the offseason. That's $1 billion almost spent there on free agents right there. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up here. It's December 23rd. We're going to go through this weekend and have a great time. I'll be back on Tuesday with a new show of Hanna Time. I got some people popping in right now. I don't know who's inviting me right now. Let's see here. Got a lot of friendly people wanting to say hi. I am going to look on the screen. I forgot about more people looking on the screen here, and we're going to see what goes on. All right, who do we got here? All right. Oh, wrong way. Here we go. Don. Hey, Don in the UK. Loving it. Lisa out of Iowa. Hope you're doing okay with that Jet loss last night. David Robles. Hey, David. Morning, everybody. Trevor Lawrence is a great quarterback. Yes, he is, Don. He's there. Happy Christmas, everybody. Coming from the UK. Also, our friends in Australia, Christmas Eve to you. And enjoy. Be safe. Also, Casper Manfredi in the house. Appreciate it, guys. And like always, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'll be seeing you next week on Hanna Time itself. No problem at all. I'll have some special guests coming on also that I've lined up throughout the week. And we'll see what happens around the NFL. This is their time. And definitely looking forward to the weekend. And tomorrow night, all eyes on Pittsburgh itself with the Franco storyline. That's really the storyline of the NFL. And by Sunday, we'll know more about playoff teams. With 3 games to go, have fun, folks. This is going to be fun to watch if you're an NFL fan itself. All right, folks. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Hanna Time brought to you by my sponsors screening on the bottom of the screen itself. As you see, Roku TV, ASAP Network, Sports Network, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Tiki TV, Herigo TV, LinkedIn Live, Memento TV, and Viva TV itself. And also on YouTube, also another channel, Global Sports TV Sports Podcast itself. Look it up. Hanna Time is the name of the show. Cornelius Brad Hanna. Share it, please. Look at my sponsors. Great ones there. And I have 2 more sponsors coming in that will announce to you in the coming weeks itself. And for all that, folks, I appreciate your time once again here on Hanna Time. Be safe. please be safe. This is the time of the year where people around loved ones, and be smart too, folks. Go. It's Friday. It's Friday. Hanna Time. Enjoy. Have a good one, folks. I appreciate it. Love you guys. Love yourself first. Remember that. Love always wins. Love always wins.